Okay, 7 string. I think we need to work on some stuff here. The muting. So the strumming went pretty good. The changing the chord at the right time does much improve. So very good on that. So the biggest issue I heard with the power chord strumming stuff is quite a bit open strings ringing out there. So like having those higher pitched strings especially coming through. So we need to work on cleaning that up because the only thing that should be heard are the strings that you're holding down. So when you're playing this stuff, sometimes you can use your thumb over the top to mute if that feels like too much of a reach around. It's still possible to keep things muted, so you got to really work to make sure you're only hearing what you want to hear. So I hear extra stuff like that. No good. We got to keep it clean. So that's a big focus this week, okay? Remember, you do not need to reach 240. That's just a number that you don't have to go past. I mean, you could if you wanted to. But if you're reaching 240, you can send stuff in early. But if you don't reach it, that's fine. So within the time limit that you have to make sure you're not overdoing anything, be very, very strict. If you hear any unwanted string noise at all, do not move up. Make sure that you fix it. So whatever chord you jump into, let's say you jump into that F5 here, and you hear like an extra string, what I need you to do is fix that chord, strum it a few times, make sure it sounds clean, and then try it again. Every single time you hear unwanted string noise, you gotta fix it. You gotta make it sound correct, and then try the whole thing again. Only move on when it sounds good enough for your album. All right, so this guy, it's a 3/4 time signature, and basically we continue to switch between a down, up, down, up, down. The whole time, rhythm is written out 2 different ways. Here we go. Number 1. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 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 3. Yeah, a 7-string is way harder to keep quiet than a 6-string. I think it is anyway. I find it to be way more difficult. All right, 120. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3. All right, and 180 coming up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Wrong chord. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Wrong chord again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, number 2 is expanding on that idea of what you did in number 1. So now we're in a 4/4 time signature once again. However, I still think it is better or easier to count it as a 3/4. And this will tie into what we do next week, as long as everything goes well this week. Basically what we got here is a polymeter. So like if the metronome's clicking and you have like an accent on the 1, it'll stand out a lot more. Without that, it won't stand out so much. So actually, let me set it to that. That is a terrible highlighted note. Let me change the sound. That could work. I'll go with that. So a more obvious 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you had drums doing something to make it sound 4/4, then this whole polymeter thing would stand out even more. But next time it's gonna be the most difficult one we do for this kind of idea. But anyway, so even though it's a 4/4, because the strumming pattern stays in that whole 3/4 thing, it's always going like the 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3. Keep counting it like that. Even though it's in a 4/4, still count it like 3/4. Because every time we change chords, it's at the beginning of that 3/4 strumming pattern. So we got a 3/4 and a 4/4 happening at the same time, basically. So remember, make sure no unwanted string noise. Be very disciplined. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 3. 1 and 3. 1 and 3. 1 and 3. 120. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 180. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I am doing quite a bit of right hand muting here, like when I change strings. I am using my right hand to help keep the strings quiet while I transition. It's really fast, it's a really subtle thing. Lots of index finger work over here to help keep unused strings muted. That index right up under the adjacent string. And then here when I'm on these, the right hand's sitting on top of that B string, keeping it quiet. So you can't strum as wild on a 7 string as you do a 6 string, I feel. I know I can't, because if I did strum as wild, I would have problems with muting things. So, yeah, gotta be careful, extra careful on the 7 string. So, got another thing for you to, wait, no. Things are a little bit different this week with the chords. So, you did have the repeats, which is good. Actually, I wanted to show you something, or bring something up here. Let me know if you'd like to start incorporating theory on the 7 string as well. Some of the open chords, well, a lot of the open chords will still be done like they're on a 6 string, because it's just easier to do and that kind of tuning. You did do the repeats, which is great. But there's one thing. You actually made it harder than it needed to be. So I'm definitely not going to fault you there for that. But reading it, make sure, be careful. So how it's written out is this: 1 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1. Ooh, God, that was terrible. Haha, you did it better than me. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1. I did it, damn did it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 1. I am not used to my 7 string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So that's what the rhythm is. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You played it as 1 and 2 and wrong. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and so you did triplets. Or you could think of it as 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and so on. Anyway, so just be careful of that. What you're going to do, and this is where having Guitar Pro is extremely helpful, it's a couple things. And I'm going to see, yeah, that'll be all right. So, and this is set up in the 6th string right now, so I'm just going to switch over to that. Again, if you want to start doing stuff with the 7, or do the theory stuff with the 7, just let me know. We can certainly do that. I know you said you had the 3 note per string scale shapes and different scale shapes memorized for a guitar. Is that also with the 7 string? Let me know that too. So at the end here, you got a string name, and that's the string you're going to start this progression thing on. So here you're going to start this first progression on the E string. This starts on the A string. This one starts on the D string, and so on. So, for example, I'm going to pretend like this says starting on the D string just so I can input some stuff and show you how you're going to do this. Basically, you're going to use those shapes, and you can use, this shape. You can use that shape. It's up to you. Whatever the first shape is that you use will kind of help determine what the next shape's going to be and so on. So you can go between, this shape. Now this one's a freaking awful one to hold, so you're probably not going to use that one. But this shape, that shape for the major, or that shape for the major, whichever one you want to use there is fine. But the basic idea is you're going to go from one chord to the next in the shortest distance possible, trying to make a really nice, efficient route. So as soon as you have this stuff filled out, I want you to send it over so this way I can let you know if anything should be changed, if I have any suggestions. This way, when it's time to practice it all, you're practicing the correct things. So yeah, as soon as it's filled out, send it over. I'll check it out as soon as I can. And so we're using the Roman numerals to know what chord we're going to be using. So we have no sharps and flats listed. So the key is C, or key of A minor. Technically key is C because we're looking at it. C is the 1. So 6. So we know it's an A minor. And again, for example, I'm going to start it on the D string instead of showing how I do it on the E string because I want you to have to think. So I'm going to go with this chord for that A minor. I'm going to go with that one because I like that better than the other one. So you type that in there. Now, to enter the chord name, actually, let me change this display here. And one sec. Transformation. There we go. Reset. Okay. Let's move it down here. All right, so type in the chord name, or to enter the chord name, you're going to hit the letter A. There we go, and that brings that up. Now, if you tabbed out the chord the way it's supposed to be, you'll have the chord name come up with what we want it to be. I always leave display diagram off, because if you leave it on, you're just going to have a bunch of stuff at the top of the page that's unnecessary. So you can leave it on if you prefer to have that, but I like to have display diagram off. I just find it to be a big old mess at the top of the page. So yeah, you hit the letter A to bring that box up, and you just hit enter or hit OK. So now, chord number 2, you got D minor. So I'm thinking, where is a nice close D at, so I can make or use one of those chord shapes that we're working with. Move this over. So I'm going to go down to this one because that's nice and close. So A minor, D minor. Put that in. Oops, there we go. So again, hit the letter A, brings up the chord box, chord diagram box, hit enter. Now 1. So now that's the C chord. So I'm going to go down to that, to hit the C chord, and put it in that way. Again, letter A for the chord name. All right, 5. So we got chord number 5 is next. So we could jump straight down here for the G chord. But we also got to think we're coming back here for that A minor chord. So it's one thing, it's a good thing to think how you're going to go from one, the first chord to the second chord in the shortest distance possible, the second to the third, shortest distance possible, and so on. But you also have the repetition that you're going to do. So you got to think, instead of like a linear, like left to right kind of thing, you got to think circular. Like, how are you going to circle back around to the starting point again? So because of that, I don't want to play the G chord down here. I want to play it up here like this. That's going to make it much easier to jump back to the start. Put that in, letter A, type that in. Okay, and then the last chord here, well, that's going to be the same as the first. There we go. Yeah, so the last chord will always be the same as the first. Unless I goofed up a Roman numeral, but I don't think I did. Anyway, and then there's another thing. We'll practice mode names. So I can't remember what you said about modes. I think you understand them. I think you said that. We're going to do this. I like to have everyone label the mode that the progression is in. So, pretty simple way of figuring out what it is. I mean, basically, so Roman numeral number 6, it's going to be the 6th mode in the key of C, and include the root note as well. So this is what we can do to input it. You're going to hit the shift key, hold that down, and then hit insert. That brings this up. So if you hit the tab key, it'll put you right where you need to be. And just type in Aeolian. That's the mode for that progression. So again, to bring that up, you're going to hit shift, you hold the shift key and hit insert at the same time. Of course, you can just click over here and enter the name, or you can hit the tab key and it'll bring you right where you need to be. So I want you to put the mode name at the beginning of each progression there. Let's see if you know what all those modes are. So that's the idea. You're going to be starting it on the low E string, okay? And then see what you come up with. So again, you want to think, how do you go from one chord to the next in the most efficient route possible? And turn it in once you got it filled in. I'll check it out. Okay? Any questions come up, let me know. And I'll see you again in your new videos.